In front of you is the aftermath of a massive landslide that struck the Dazi mountain range, located in Jiangnan County, Sichuan province. In the blink of an eye, the entire village of Liangshui, home to more than 80 families across generations, was buried beneath thousands of tons of mud, rocks, and debris. Red-roofed homes, rice fields, nearly ready for harvest, everything vanished in just 5 fateful minutes. What followed was a scene of utter devastation. Mud poured over rooftops, utility poles leaned at broken angles, and dangling power lines sparked violently in the misty rain. The cries of children calling out for their parents echoed through the cold mountain drizzle. The primary cause of the disaster was severely water-saturated soil, after weeks of heavy, unrelenting rainfall. The deeper layers of earth had turned to sludge, losing their ability to cling to the bedrock. Adding to the danger, years of illegal logging and unauthorized trail construction had stripped the area of its forest cover. The roots that once held the mountainside together were gone. So when last night's torrential rain came crashing down like a sky split open, the entire slope gave way, fracturing and collapsing in an instant. Grieving villagers reported that the area had been cut off by flooding for several consecutive days. Still, because their homes were built at the base of the mountain, floodwaters hadn't reached them yet, so they chose to stay living off stockpiled food and occasional relief supplies, believing that leaving might mean facing even worse conditions elsewhere. More importantly, they trusted that the rain would soon stop and life would return to normal. Their homes, their fields, their entire lives were rooted in that land. To them, leaving was unthinkable. No one could have imagined that the very ground they believed to be stable would be the first to collapse, as an entire section of the mountain cracked apart and came crashing down like the furious wrath of nature itself. When the disaster struck, rescue teams immediately arrived at the scene, wading through raging floodwaters and thick mud to reach the site. But what they witnessed left everyone speechless. An entire residential cluster had been wiped off the mapinly rubble, broken bricks, twisted metal roofs, and faint cries for help echoing from beneath the earth remained. The survivors were covered in mud, their eyes wide with panic. They didn't scream or sob, they were simply too exhausted. By the afternoon of the following day, 12 deaths had been confirmed, including 3 children, 7 women, and 2 elderly residents who were unable to escape as the landslide came crashing down too fast. More than 30 others were injured, many suffering from severe trauma to the head and chest. Among the most heartbreaking cases was that of a young mother, found holding her 3-year-old daughter tightly in her arms. Neither of them survived. The bodies were carried up on stretchers, caked in mud, hastily covered with plastic sheets under the unrelenting rain. Each time a body emerged, the entire village fell silent, broken only by the sound of muffled sobs carried by the cold wind. In recent days, China has been reeling from catastrophic flooding. Satellite imagery captured from above shows a nightmare unfolding, bustling cities drowned beneath raging rivers, entire landscapes erased. Bridges, roads, entire towns have vanished, as if wiped clean from the map. But the most terrifying force hasn't been naturaleza, been humanity itself. Layer upon layer of concrete poured over flawed planning, draining aquifers, choking the Earth's lifelines. Now, Beijing, Shanghai, Tianjin, symbols of political and economic power, are sinking hour by hour, caught in a countdown to collapse under colossal floods. In emergency shelters, hundreds of evacuees are packed into overcrowded spaces, lacking basic necessities. No electricity, scarce clean water, and many have only the soaked clothes on their backs. Doctors have set up makeshift medical tents on high hilltops, the only places yet to be flooded, treating patients injured from collapsed homes or suffering from hypothermia after hours submerged in floodwaters. But even in grief, the human spirit endures. In Tanhe village, survivors shared bread crumb by crumb, and dry blankets were passed hand to hand. An elderly woman opened what was left of her home to shelter 3 displaced families. A 6-year-old boy, rescued from the rooftop of his flooded house, clung to the neck of a soldier and sobbed, "Please don't leave me." Across Sichuan, Volunteer teams from major cities have poured in, bringing food, medicine, medical kits, and most importantly, warm embraces. In Minzai County, local businesses have donated thousands of hot meals daily for flood victims. Words of encouragement, donations, and heartfelt messages have been flooding in from across China. But nature has not yet relented. Weeks of unrelenting rain have kept water levels dangerously high, and the ground beneath has become critically unstable. Experts are warning of further landslide risks in areas such as Pinggu, Tianguan, and Ya'an, where the terrain has already suffered severe erosion. This is not just a landslide. This is not just a flood. This is a wake-up call, not only about the power of natural disasters, but a sobering reminder of the steep price humanity pays when we interfere too deeply with the environment without understanding and without humility. While surface floods are drowning cities across China, the greater threat may lie beneath the ground. Groundwater is being depleted at an alarming rate. For decades, cities like Beijing, Shanghai, and Tianjin have overexploited underground aquifers to fuel economic growth, population booms, and rapid urbanization. As a result, the earth beneath these megacities is hollowing out, losing its structural integrity. Sinkholes, land subsidence, and cracking building foundations are becoming increasingly common. In 2023 alone, Beijing sank by over 11 centimeters, and some subway lines have begun to warp as the ground beneath shifts and weakens. A study by Wuhan University, using ground-penetrating radar, uncovered a chilling truth. Beijing is sinking 5 times faster than sea levels are rising, and the entire North China Plain agricultural and industrial heart of the country's turning into a giant underground funnel. It's estimated that over 180 billion cubic meters of groundwater have been extracted enough to leave underground voids the size of entire cities. Even more alarming, directly above those empty cavities sit dense urban areas filled with millions of people, high-rise buildings, and critical infrastructure. Shanghai, a global financial hub, is also sinking by several centimeters per year. In districts like Lujiazui and Yangpu, the ground has reportedly subsided by up to 6 centimeters in a single year. And if sea levels continue to rise, Shanghai could be only 1 meter away from being completely underwater. But it doesn't stop there. Seawater is now seeping backward into underground aquifers, causing saltwater intrusion in provinces like Jiangsu, Hainan, and Guangdong, threatening both agriculture and daily life for millions of people. What's even more alarming is that natural rainfall, once the primary source for groundwater replenishment, is steadily declining due to climate change and the growing number of hydroelectric dams blocking upstream flow. As a result, rivers like the Chaobai, once a vital clean water source for Beijing, are now reduced to dry, barren beds. With 5.5 billion cubic meters of groundwater being pumped out every year, the geological system of northern China is becoming lifeless, dry, and dangerously unstable. Natural disasters are no longer just falling from the sky. They're rising from beneath our feet. The Three Gorges Dam, once a symbol of national pride, is now being called a double-edged sword. Massive in scale, the dam was once hailed as a flood shield for the Yangtze River basin. But in reality, when inflow exceeds safe capacity, the dam has no choice but to release water in emergency discharges, resulting in severe flooding in downstream provinces like Hubei, Jiangxi, and Anhui, where tens of millions of people live. Worse still, excessive water storage over many days, aimed at protecting the dam structure, leads to dangerous hydraulic pressure, causing geological fractures and triggering landslides in nearby mountainous regions. Combined with intense rainfall, the entire Yangtze River region has become extremely vulnerable. Natural disasters cannot be prevented, but how we respond to them is a choice, from collapsing mountains to submerged streets, and now to hollowed-out earth beneath our feet. Both China and the world are being reminded of a simple truth. When humanity forgets the limits of nature, nature will respond in the most brutal way possible. We must listen to the signs from the earth, the rivers, and the cracks we once ignored. Because these are not just warnings, they are cries for help. And if we don't act in time, the cost won't just be homes, It will be our future. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.